Princess Zinabu was proud, feared, and untouchable until a single encounter in the forest would change her fate forever. One slap, one mistake, and nothing would ever be the same. Known across the valleys and rivers of the kingdom of Arawa, Princess Zinabu was admired for her beauty, yet feared for her pride. She walked as though the earth owed her respect, her chin always lifted, her eyes rarely meeting those of common people. Born into wealth, power, and endless praise, she had never known hunger, rejection, or fear. From childhood, servants rushed to her every need, and elders praised her sharp tongue as confidence, never correcting her cruelty. Over time, her heart hardened like sun-baked clay, strong on the outside but empty within. On the morning that would change her life forever, Zinabu set out on horseback into the forest with her guards trailing behind. She was bored of palace life and wanted adventure, laughter, and proof of her importance beyond palace walls. The forest of Iroko trees was old and sacred, whispered to be watched over by unseen spirits, but Zinabu laughed at such stories. To her, power came from gold and bloodlines, not from unseen forces or old tales told by firelight. Deep in the forest, near a crooked path where travelers often rested, sat an old beggar woman. Her back was bent like a question mark, her hair white as ash, and her clothes torn and faded. Yet her eyes were sharp and deep, holding stories older than the kingdom itself. She leaned on a wooden staff and quietly greeted everyone who passed, asking only for water or a kind word. Many ignored her, some gave small coins, but she never complained. When Princess Zinabu approached, the old woman slowly raised her head and spoke gently. She asked for a sip of water, blessing the princess before she even responded. The guards hesitated, unsure whether to interfere, but Zinabu felt insulted. How dare such a creature speak to her so directly? Rage flared in her chest, and before anyone could stop her, she stepped forward and slapped the old woman across the face. The sound echoed unnaturally through the forest, and the birds fell silent. The old woman fell to the ground, her staff rolling away, but she did not cry. Instead, she slowly rose, her eyes glowing with a strange ancient fire. The forest wind picked up, leaves swirling around them as though the trees themselves were angry. The guards tried to pull the princess back, but their legs felt heavy, rooted to the earth. Fear crept into Zinabu's heart for the first time, though she tried to hide it behind anger. The beggar spoke, her voice no longer weak but deep and commanding. She told the princess that pride without kindness was a disease of the soul, and that humiliation given unjustly would return tenfold. With a strike of her staff against the ground, the earth trembled. Zinabu screamed as pain rushed through her body, and before the guard's eyes, the princess collapsed, her royal clothes turning to rags, her jewelry sinking into the soil like it had never existed. When Zinabu awoke, the forest was quiet and her guards were gone. Her skin itched, her stomach burned with hunger, and her reflection in a nearby stream shocked her. She looked weak, thin, and unrecognizable, her once smooth hands rough and trembling. Panic took over as she called for help, but only her own echo answered. For the first time, she felt truly alone. She wandered for hours, begging travelers for food and water, but they turned away, mocking her dirty clothes and desperate voice. Each rejection pierced her heart, reminding her of the beggar she had humiliated. Hunger twisted her stomach, and shame followed her like a shadow. The world she once ruled no longer saw her as special, and the pain of that realization cut deeper than any blade. Days turned into weeks as Zinabu wandered from village to village. She slept under trees, drank from muddy streams, and learned how heavy the sun could feel on an unprotected head. Some villagers chased her away, others laughed, but a few showed kindness, offering leftover food or a place near the fire. Each act of kindness felt like a miracle, and slowly her heart began to soften. She started helping where she could, carrying water, gathering firewood, and caring for children. The more she served others, the lighter her chest felt. At night, she cried quietly, regretting her past actions and whispering apologies to the wind. She realized that respect could not be demanded, only earned, and that power without compassion was nothing but noise. One evening, as the moon hung low and red, Zenabu found the old beggar woman sitting by a fire at the edge of a village. Fear and hope battled inside her as she approached, her knees shaking. She knelt without being asked, tears streaming down her face, and begged for forgiveness. Her voice cracked as she admitted her cruelty, her pride, and the pain she had caused. The old woman studied her in silence, the fire reflecting in her eyes. She asked her what she had learned, and the former princess spoke honestly, not with rehearsed words, but from a broken heart. She spoke of hunger, rejection, humility, and the strength found in kindness. The forest seemed to lean closer, listening. The beggar told her that words alone were not enough. She gave her one final task: return to the palace and serve the poorest person there without revealing who she truly was. If she failed, her curse would remain forever. Fear gripped Zenabu, but she agreed, determined to prove her change. Disguised as a servant, she entered the palace she once ruled. No one recognized her. She cleaned floors, washed dishes, and tended to the sick. When she met the poorest servant, a crippled boy ignored and mocked by others, she cared for him patiently, feeding him and carrying him when he could not walk. Each act felt like healing, both for him and herself. One morning, as the palace gathered in confusion, the beggar woman appeared at the gates, no longer disguised. Thunder rolled across the sky as she revealed Zenabu's true identity. Gasps filled the courtyard as the servant girl stood trembling before them. The old woman lifted her staff, and light poured over Zenabu. Her royal clothes returned, but her eyes remained humble. The curse was lifted, not because she was royal, but because she had learned humility. The spirits of the forest had accepted her change, and balance was restored. Zenabu reclaimed her place, but she ruled differently. She listened more than she spoke, walked among her people, and punished cruelty wherever it appeared. Beggars were welcomed, elders respected, and kindness rewarded. The kingdom prospered not through fear, but through unity. She often returned to the forest, leaving food and water by the path where the beggar once sat. Though the woman was never seen again, Zenabu felt her presence in the rustling leaves and quiet winds. Years later, elders told the children the story by moonlight, warning them that pride invites downfall and kindness invites protection. They spoke of a princess who slapped a beggar and nearly lost everything, only to find herself through humility. And deep in the forest of Iroko trees, it is said that spirits still watch, reminding all who pass that every action carries consequences, and that the smallest hand you raise in cruelty may belong to power you do not understand.